Hi guys, how's it going? I hope everybody's having a good weekend. It's been an interesting past week. So let's kind of jump in and understand the current situation of the US dollar and some of the other pairs that we've been currently looking at, including gold. So looking at DXY right now at this point in time, we've taken support at a monthly area where price has significant amount of support at the bottom. So we can expect the current monthly to pretty much take a rejection. Well, we could still break through, but depending on the type of news that it is. With the expectation that price could dip further down into the 95 area before price continues further up. So what we need to do is kind of wait and look and see as to what is happening on the dollar and if price can find support into that range. Till then, let's see how things work out. So into the current week that has gone through so far, looking at DXY, we can see that price rejected, taking support within that range. However, I would still expect DXY to go down further below into the 98.428 range before trying to push further up in the coming week. So coming week, I do expect price to go back up and mitigate an imbalance over there before price continues further down. So if you look at the daily has the previous daily did create an area of resistance and giving us a signal that price could potentially now, this is a candlestick pattern giving us an indication that we could be reversing and going further up. So if you look at that, there is a good way up, which means on the dollar, on the gold side, we could pretty much see a push further down. Now that further down is not necessarily a push all the way down to the 1800s. It could potentially be a drop down into the 1800s. However, we might pretty much just end up ranging within the spot that we are before price continues to make a proper move, right? So with that, since the XY is giving us an indication that price is about to reverse and we might be making a push further up, let's go into gold and look at that same amount of confirmation. So let's look at the monthly before we talk about anything else. So looking at the monthly currently on the DXY, we can see that price has currently rejected at a monthly level where price has previously reversed. There is a monthly doji right within that range. So that is a strong rejection area for gold. Even if price is able to make a push further up, it's going to find rejection at 1975. And since we are considering that price is currently within this monthly consolidation range, we can expect price to currently take a dip. Ideally, through the end of this month, we might see price going all the way down and eventually starting to see a little bit of a push up. This is where we're expecting price to try and go back up and challenge the highs, which could be in line with what we're seeing on the DXY. So just with that, we have a further perspective that looking at the previous monthly, we can see that we've rejected exactly the body of the previous candle. So that is a huge amount of rejection right there. We have two wicks within the same region and a doji coming up. So even if price is able to try and push further up, it's going to find a huge amount of rejection right at that doji, which is also a body of this monthly candle. However, that pretty much would mean price has to go back further up on the lower time frames, take support above this wick right there, and keep going further up, which currently at this point in time seems to be one of the biggest challenges, right? And so jumping into the weekly, we can see that on the RSI, price has taken support at the 50% line. It has taken support once. It has taken support once again. Now, we could tap into this moving average line on the weekly and then potentially start to drop further down. So there's still scope of a bit of a push, but we can see on the left hand side again there is another doji right there. That's pretty much the area that we've rejected and we've entered sell based on that. So that area of rejection is extremely strong. Again, just like the monthly, strong area of rejection. Price has broken below that resistance, tried to go back up in this consolidation range here, couldn't break above, eventually making it dive down. Now we're back into that range. So if you look at the weekly, the candles formation right there. Let's look at the daily, and you will see the similar formation now on the daily. Now, does that mean that resistance has been formed and price can continue further down? Yes, that is possible, right? It's going to be dependent on news if you're able to break further below 1901, 1900 area, right? So we have to wait and see what price can present as an opportunity for a push further down. So currently, we are sitting in sells. We're expecting price to take a further dip down. If you look at the weekly, yes, price can take a dip down. It could find another support right there and start ranging. So is this going to be our weekly area of consolidation? Or because if you look at the left-hand side, weekly has consolidated within that range previously. 1, 2, 3, and 4 weekly consolidation. If you go further left, we do have another amount of consolidation. That is where price was constantly taking support, eventually breaking down. So will we see that same thing happen this week or across next week? We have to wait and watch. So looking at DXY and looking at gold, kind of a similar story. DXY could see a further drop down and then an eventual push up. And the same thing on gold, we could see a little bit of a push up or a challenge for these highs right there and continue further drop down. So the current weekly, we could definitely see a push further down, maybe finds support at 1918 and then tries to jump back up. But yeah, that is going to be the current expectation, is a little bit of a wick up and then a wick down. So ideally, we might be sitting in a consolidation range all over again. So this means that it is a risky area because if you look at the daily, weekly, we are back into a consolidation range. Daily, we are back into a consolidation range where price took a decent amount of time to make its decision to go further down. But now if you look at what's happened on the daily, you can see that price has found rejection within the same area as we are seeing. Price has found rejection in this area quite a lot of times. Now, if we are saying that price has closed above, the body of these two dailies has still closed below this top wick, which is at 1960. So price still struggling to close above 1960 being an extremely strong area. If gets broken, we will find a massive amount of rejection coming at 1975, which is going to be the next area of rejection. Now, yes, daily could push further up there, but there's a good amount of structure at the current area where price can continue to dip further down. Now, is it going to go all the way down and break through below and keep going further down? That is too early to say. We have to look at what's happening through the week to kind of take consideration of that. But at this point, we can see that price is ready to make that preparation for a move down, but has created a good amount of support at the bottom right there, right? So price breaking above that support could potentially take support of that area right there at this point in time. And then the next daily could still potentially, Tuesday's news, which is currently at this point expected to be a mixed reaction or a bad reaction for the dollar, which could send price back up to challenge the highs once again. So let's see what is in line with that. So let's take a look at the fundamental aspects since we've taken a look at the technical aspects so far. So looking at next week, we don't have any news on the Monday. We do have news coming in on Tuesday, retail sales. Retail sales, they're expected to drop from 1.6% previous news to 1.1%. We know that retail sales has been dropping across the past few months. However, we've seen it slow down. Now, what could send price drop further down? Well, previously we had 1.6%. Previous to that, we had 1.2%. Previous to that, we had 2.9%. So it's been a mixed push up and down. Inflation, core inflation, especially at the consumer level, has impacted sales, and that has started to drop down a little bit. The lag is kind of seeping in. So from 9.1%, we've come down to 1.6% across the past few months. Since September 15th, 2022 to June 15th, we've reached 1.6%. Now, if we go above 1.6% this coming news, that's going to be extremely good for the dollar, which means dollar has started to recover at the ground level as well. And which would be in line in what the technical is trying to give us an evidence of a possible push up. So with regards to that, retail sales, we can expect it to be neutral or positive for the dollar. Retail sales, autos is kind of taking a struggle. It's constantly dropping. Supply chain has kind of come back to normal or almost there. However, inflation has been one of the biggest aspects of it. It has kind of started easing in, so that's going to be an interesting news to look at. So far, it's from negative 0.8% to 0.4%, dropping back down to 0.1%. Now the expectation is it's going to go further down into 0.5%, 0.3%. Yeah. So that's definitely something that is going to be crucial to take a look at. So just looking at that, this could be a mixed day overall for gold. Even though it might be higher than forecast, it might still be lower than the previous. And if that's the situation, if auto sales don't go further up, their expectation is it is going to go up from 0.1% to 0.3%, from 0.3% to 0.5% growth month on month. Now, if that turns out to be good, that's going to give a massive push for gold to take a dip down and break through the area of support, being at 1931.94. So with that, we have a good range to be looking at. So let's see what kind of potential market brings us across Monday and Tuesday. Looking at Wednesday, we have further news coming in with building permits. We should be seeing good news. They're expecting it to go up from 1.496 to 1.5. Building permits do go up during the summers, which is kind of the current situation. So that might be a good news for the dollar. So Wednesday, we might see a good news overall. Thursday, we are again seeing existing home sales. They're expecting it to drop. However, summers and springs are generally a good time, and we do see recovery within that space. And the previous news has been evidence of it. We went down from 14.5% to negative 2.4, went further down to 3.4, and then the previous news in June has been 0.2%. So in July, we could expect that to get better. So my current expectation is existing home sales will be in the favor of the dollar, which means from 4.3 million, they're expecting it to go down to 4.21 million. However, the previous news was 4.3 million. Actual expectation was 4.25. Previous to that, we had 4.29 as the numbers. However, they ended up being higher the last time, so we can expect it to be higher this time as well. So this time we are expecting it to be 4.21, expecting it's going to go further down. And if it is higher than 4.3, that's going to be an amazing news for the dollar. So with that, that's the end of the news for the next week. Friday, we don't have anything on the US dollar. So all in all, we could see a good week for gold for a push down. Now, if at all those news ideas end up being negative for the dollar, we could potentially be targeting above into the 2000 ranges. 2010, 2015 is potentially going to be the range that we might end up targeting if price finds a way to break above 1975. So 1975 is the current target. If price is trying to break above, it has to break further above that. If not, we could potentially see price break below. So we're looking at two areas of support, 1906 and 1975. Which one breaks, or does price range where it is? We'll find out, right? So let's see if the current area of rejection ends up working out, giving us a price push further down. And then ideally giving us a bullish momentum towards the upside soon. So that is going to be the expectation on gold. If you look at GBPUSD, GBPUSD is also kind of in line. It has rejected the weekly level. However, on the monthly, we still have a further range to go up and reject at 1.34846, which could be the next monthly taking a support at the 50% line on the trend line on the RSI and allowing it to go further up. So this is going to be the expectation for price to go further up into this range and find rejection of the trend line right there, and then potentially continue its drop down. If price does break above, we're going to see a further push up. So if you look at the weekly, we can look at the weekly in the similar fashion, finding a rejection within that range right there should be able to give us a good amount of push further down. However, looking at where we are right now, if we do see that kind of a tap further up this week, we might see further push down. Well, ideally, we might see the current weekly dropping down, next weekly trying to make a further push up, and then seeing rejection. The following week, we might see price dip further down. So the next month is where we might end up seeing that kind of a fall on GBPUSD. If you look at AUDUSD, this is the current expectation. If you look at the weekly, AUD has rejected at the trend line on the weekly and on the monthly. Now, this means that we could potentially see a further drive down for this week. Try and find support. If not, drive further down, which could be in line with the expectation we have on gold as well. It's going to be a similar move towards the downside, and then potentially trying to make a push up, breaking above this trend line right there. We've made an effort once. We've tried to go back up right there. Couldn't build the pressure. This time creating support and going further up. So price could find a huge amount of momentum at the trend line right there, and then potentially find a better amount of support at 0.66862 or at the trend line, and eventually break above. So that is going to be the thing to monitor. Currently, we are taking that drop right there. Price rejecting at a previous area of rejection and at the trend line. So two areas of confirmation giving us a further push down. So we could pretty much see AUD taking a drop. If I look at RSI, I could see it drop into the 50% line, which is where it might be interjecting with the moving average line and find support and could keep pushing further up, which could at this point in time be right within this area right there. So if you look at weekly, weekly has taken support of the moving average line. So weekly is trying to push up but has found rejection. So this week we might see that drop down, and then the next week could try and potentially make that push up. So let's see what we can gather there. So AU and GU kind of lining up to make similar moves. GU is kind of getting lined up slowly and steadily to make a deeper push down. So that is going to be an important thing to look at. We could find support here and try to break above. This is where we're expecting the monthly rejection to come in, and then eventually price dropping further down. So let's see what the market presents. Okay. With that, we have a very crucial week coming up. So be extremely careful in taking trades. We have a good amount of rejection and support at both ends of where market is positioned on gold. So only take conservative trades. Do not overtrade. Do not take any risky trades. Look for good levels only, because we're back into the consolidation range. So do we continue to consolidate or do we make a push down? We'll find out this week. Okay. Till then, have a good weekend, and I will see you guys back in the Asian session for Monday, July 17th. Sorry. Till then, have a good one.